Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode. With property purchase, we always talk about what the interest rates are, what type of property we are buying, how much it's going to cost. But one important thing that we miss is where to buy the property, which is very crucial when actually you are buying a property, and especially for the investment purposes. So today, to explore more on the location side of the property, I've got Denny from Property Zeal with us. Welcome, Denny.
Thank you, Bimal. Thanks for inviting.
So, Denny, as we mentioned, when we say we are buying the property, especially for the investment purposes, we always say is what the rental return is, how much capital growth is going to get. But one major part we miss is actually the location of the property. Can you elaborate this one a bit?
Yeah, it's a good question. Our fundamental aim to buy a property is capital growth.
Yes.
So for capital growth, there are certain important factors that can bring up the price of the property. And to get the best return is to choose a suburb that is going to grow up in value in the long term.
Definitely.
So people, of course, as you just mentioned, look for rental yields, look for something that is growing right now. But if the fundamentals and things that are going to give the suburb a long-term growth isn't there, then the customer or the client or the person is going to struggle or suffer in future.
Yeah, sure. So when someone starts searching or researching suburbs, I would say, what are the things that they should consider or look at?
Yeah, as I mentioned, there are certain fundamental things that a suburb can be considered as good for investment or not. One of them is people moving into the suburb, that is demand side. For that demand to happen, there should be things that will attract people into it. One of that is infrastructure, like schools and colleges and universities and shopping and job opportunities like industries and things like that. That will draw people into the suburb. That is one of the fundamental things that has to be considered when you're choosing a suburb.
Yep, sure.
And also looking at the supply side, if the supply is constrained. So people go by in areas where there are a lot of estates coming.
Yep.
But if there is not enough demand or population growing, so the price wouldn't grow.
Yeah, so it's oversupply is there. Yep.
So looking into the population growth, looking into the infrastructure, and basically are the very fundamental things that we can look as a common person. But when we do the research, there are several other factors we add on on top of these basic things.
Yep, sure. And why is that so important for the property investors?
As I just mentioned before, our aim is to get capital growth.
Yes.
So the basic economics is where there is more demand and less supply, that's where a pressure is created. And that's when the prices have to grow.
Yes.
So if the fundamentals that can increase the demand is not good, and if the supply also is increasing, then the property price is not going to grow. That's why when I do the research, or when I ask the clients to find out a suburb if they want to do it on their own, I always ask them to do this basic search first before putting in their hard-earned money, because it's not just like buying something for $100, $1,000.
Exactly.
It's a big investment. It's maybe a 1 million investment, but if you are not doing that proper searching and researching and due diligence, you're going to make a loss in not in thousands, it may be hundreds and thousands over the next 10 to 20 years.
And that's exactly, you're right. It's not what we are looking today. It's what we are looking for the future, because the investment is the future. So it's not even the, as you say, the infrastructure of the suburb and everything. We are looking for what's going to happen in future in that suburb.
That's right. So going back to the point that you said about rental yield, and there are people who also look at negative gearing to just for the sake of tax benefits. But there is now news that they're going to take it off. They're removing it. So there was a question by a client saying, what happens next? What if they're going to remove the negative gearing? Of course, it will affect the property price to a certain extent in the short term, but as I mentioned, our aim is a long-term investment. What would be the property price in the next 10, 20 years? Will it be tripled or 4 times the price that you're buying now? That should be a focus, not on negative gearing, not on the rental yields at this point of time.
So
one of the criteria that we look is number of owner occupied in a suburb. That's very important. Because owner occupied are people who have already bought property there. That means they like the suburb. It's a livable suburb. They've got kids, children going to school. There's infrastructure, there's public transport and things. So we always look, when I say long-term research, we look in the owner-occupied versus investor ratio. We don't want to go buy in a suburb where there are a lot of investors coming. It may be an indication that investors are attracted for some reason. Maybe it's a good rental yield, as we spoke before, or it could be that property prices have been going up in the last few months or last few years. But if the owner-occupier ratio is not good enough, and when there are bad times, the investors are going to withdraw from the suburb, and that's when the property price can drastically drop. So livability and all the basic fundamentals will attract owner-occupied. So a suburb with good owner-occupied levels is a good indication to buy. For a long-term growth.
Sure. And how actually the affordability come into consideration when we are looking for the suburbs? Because we know that some suburbs are really expensive, if we can. So how affordability actually comes into place when we are looking into the suburb side?
Of course, it's one of the very important things to look into, understanding what affordability is. They say that dwelling price, it's called dwelling price. In Brisbane is more than the dwelling price in Melbourne right now.
Yes, that's right.
It does not mean the property price in Brisbane is higher than Melbourne. It means in comparison to the economy, the people in Brisbane the affordability towards the property is less. Whereas Melbourne, it's cheaper. It's depending on the income and the economy of that particular city. So when you're looking into a suburb, you can't have a $1 million property in a suburb where the people are earning just $1,000 a fortnight. So for example, a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW showroom is not going to open in a suburb whether there are people who are living under the poverty line or earning just $1,500 a fortnight. So they always keep it in area where people can afford
that. Exactly.
So when we do the research, we very importantly look into the affordability and in comparison to the property prices. So do we have scope, or is there a scope for the property prices to rise? How much can it rise? If the people are already struggling to pay their mortgage and the affordability is very high, then the chances of the property price going up is very unlikely. It might take long time for the income to grow and then it to be translated into the property price. So when we do the research, we look into property or suburbs where it's easier to afford a property. So there the likelihood of the property price going up is very high.
It's very good point. Actually, never thought of that way, because affordability doesn't mean whether you can afford. Affordability means whether actually that suburb can afford or not. Very good point, and which I think a lot of our viewers may not know about that. And that's the reason why you always need to talk to a professional, because the things that you don't know or your ChatGPT don't tell you are the one that professional knows. So always talk to a professional, because this is something investment that Denny said earlier is not in thousands or $2,000. It's hundreds of $1,000s, and we are looking for very long-term investment there.
There's a statement where buying a good property in a bad location or buying a bad property in a good location,
exactly.
it's a big difference.
Yes,
You can
that's right.
always replace the property or the house, but you can't replace the suburb.
or the
Yeah?
location.
So suburb,
yes.
that's why when you're trying to find a house or you're wanting to invest, it's important to do the research first, and then property would come last.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we do for our clients.
Yeah, very good point here. So how this suburb selection matters in SMSF, because SMSF is slightly different than buying under personal name. So
Yeah.
how important or how it matters in the SMSF?
As you may know, Bimal, you into the SMSF thing. So our main aim is to get capital growth,
Yes.
and it is for our retirement. Of course, there are certain benefits during the interim, but our main goal should be capital growth. Maybe doubling the property. It depends on how soon you're buying or how close you're buying to the retirement. So doubling or tripling should happen in your property price. So that's why a good suburb with good fundamentals, where the property with good affordability will lead to property price growth. So suburb selection is very important, especially in SMSF, because you're not selling and then buying again and again. So SMSF is a long-term game.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and also in SMSF, the rental income or rental return also matter a lot compared to if it's outside the SMSF. Can you just elaborate more on that side?
Yes, it is important because rents are your main source of income to repay the loan. It all depends on how much of loan you've taken. There are people who just buy with full cash, no loan. If people are buying with 80% loan, then of course rent is an important factor. But one thing to remember is there are two different sides of a coin. Like if you're looking for more rental yield, you may not get that much of capital growth. If you're looking at too much of capital growth, you may not get the enough rental yield.
Yes.
So of course we can go into the balanced approach, or if your cash flow or your superannuation contribution is good enough and you've got enough of balance in your super, then we can more get focused into the capital growth.
Yep.
So it's all individual based.
That's right.
We can't just give a blanket answer.
Exactly. And I think that's very important as well. Even though if it's a self-managed super fund, but every self-managed super fund is different and with a different goal as well.
Yes.
So it all depends on what the age of the members are, what the goals of the members are, how much contributions are coming, and what exact goal is, whether you are looking for a capital return or you are actually looking for a rental return. Based on that one, the suburbs idea changes. It varies, because now it comes to, okay, we need to buy in a suburb where we can get the high rental return versus a high capital growth.
Yes. The other thing we need to consider, rental yields may be low now if we are considering a suburb that is going to grow very good in future. Currently it might have a less rental, but as the years goes by, because the fundamentals are strong, the rents will go up.
Yes.
So at some stage it will be neutralized, or it will be not be burdensome for people. So if you can sacrifice, or if you can adjust it for the next few years, in the long term, a suburb with higher capital growth is more beneficial.
Yep, that's right. And that's where the strategy matters a lot. So before you go and jump into and sign a contract, it's very important to have your strategy discussed with the professionals to know what your goals are, so that you can actually sit and work together what type of property and where you can buy to achieve those goals.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
That's exactly right.
So, and I think that's what you do with your clients as well. You sit with them first and go through the strategy part first.
So as in any project, planning is important. Having a strategy is important. As we mentioned, it's a big investment. Don't do your investment blindfolded. You may not see loss as such, but the opportunity that you're losing could be in millions in the next 10-20 years, which you may not even know unless you truly understand what we have told or discussed in this.
So what are the insights, or what are the mistakes that you find when actually people are buying into wrong suburb, I would say?
Yeah, common man usually starts their research by looking into realestate.com or domain.
Yes.
And they get attracted to the property. As I mentioned before, a good property in a wrong location is a big mistake. You may be attracted with the paint color or the interiors of the house or the garden, and then buy the property. But if that property is not in a good suburb, then in the long term, it may not be beneficial for you.
Yep.
It may still grow. If a property can double, if this property is going to double in 15 years, you could go to a suburb where the property could double in 7 years.
Yep.
So when you're looking at your retirement period, if your property is not doubled or quadrupled because you bought it in a wrong location, and if you could have used that same money and bought a suburb in a suburb which could have quadrupled, you know the difference. It's thousands and millions in some instances.
That's right. Yeah. Any final thoughts or for our viewers?
Yeah, if you're not sure how to do the research or not sure how to buy a property and do the suburb research, of course you can get professional help. Otherwise, gain your own knowledge. It will take time. But if you're not confident, of course, get professional help. It's worthwhile. As I mentioned, it's not just a few $1,000s. The opportunity that you're going to lose over the next 10, 20 years, maybe in millions. So big investment.
That's
you're not
right.
buying a $50,000 car. It is a $500,000 or a $1 million property. So do your proper research or get help from a professional like myself.
Exactly. And that's where things matter, because taking a right decision today will tells how your retirement will be, how your super fund will be in 10 or 20 years time, when actually you are retiring and you are ready to use that hard earned money. So if you need any information, if you need any help with the research, please contact Denny. All the details and everything are in description. Thanks, Denny. Thanks for joining us today. And hopefully our viewers got very insight knowledge. It was really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Bimal.
No,
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep.